So I thought it would be important to start with a review. You can cheat from your notes if you want to. So we talked about the 4 stages of life. Stage number 1 was the starting season. Stage number 2 was the searching season. It's all right if you don't know it. Stage number 3 was the success season, and finally the significance season. And then finding our 5 steps to our next bold move. Pre-contemplation, number 2 was what? Number 3 was action. Number 4 and number 5. Very good, very good. And then we talked about how important it is to make sure that we lead people like Jesus led. And remember the 4 steps that we had? Step number 1 was, I do it, and step number 2 is, let's do it. Step number 3 is, you do it. And step number 4 is, I'm out of here. And the sequence to preparing yourself and your successor is first and then the hands. Good class. Give us up a hand. Good class. Good class. You remember a little bit of that. And if you will put the tsunami slide up there, some of you were not able to get that information. All the information some of the information I taught you is up there. You can get it through the QR code. You can get it through freetsunamibook.com. When you go there, all it's going to ask you is your name and your email address. That's all it's going to ask you. So relax. There's no money. It's all like that. After me is coming my good friend, Pastor Andre Olivier. I want to tell you, you're in for a treat. Buckle up. He is just a phenomenal leader in God's kingdom, and I am so looking forward to hearing you and learning from you. And Pastor Mensa Audible, thank you so much for this invitation. So if you're wondering why I'm the first speaker, because after tonight I'm done, I want to tell you why I'm the first speaker. He wanted me to set the bar so low. So every speaker after me can just step right over it. So I'm doing my best, and I hope that I'm meeting your expectations. What we don't control is if we will finish our role in ministry. We don't control that. What we do control is how we finish our roles in ministry. You know, I talk to leaders and they say things like, I want to finish well. I want to finish well. And I agree with you and I bless you in the name of the Lord. But the most important thing is not just finishing well, but being well when you finish. I won't say it again. It's not just finishing well, but be well when you finish. Remember in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus said, well done. Everyone said done. Not well started. Not well halfway. Not 99%, but well done, the good and faithful servant. In the northwest part of the country I come from, there's the tallest mountain in the world, known as Mount Everest. I want to ask you a question. Thousands of people try to climb it. How do you know you are successful in climbing Mount Everest? It's not when you get to the summit and plant a flag. You are successful if you go up all the way and come down alive. Because there's snow melting up there. Last year I read a report, over 200 bodies were found of people who got to the top but never made it back to the bottom. So that is how you know you're successful. Not that you started a church, not that your church grew. It's what is going to be said at your funeral. You know, every preacher lies at funerals, you know that. When was the last time you went to a funeral and the preacher said, and this jerk, he bust hell wide open. Burn, baby, burn. No. You know what will be important is the people who know you the best. And it's not going to be the size of your church. It's going to be the size of your heart. It'll be the size of their investment in your life. Dr. Robert Clinton, who I consider the granddaddy of all leadership writing. There are two leaders, Peter Drucker and Robert Clinton, and everybody else who came after them has borrowed that material, refreshed it, and presented it. Dr. Robert Clinton did a study of Bible characters that have information about how they finished. Not every character in the Bible tells you about how they finished, but some do. And his study finds that only 33% of Bible characters ended well. Only 33%. If you want to Google it, just finishing well, Dr. Robert Clinton, all the study is there. It's a doctoral level study. So if only 33% finish well in the Bible, how can we learn from that? So before I give you 5 observations about those who do finish well, I want to give you 5 observations about why people don't finish well. Number 1, power. 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 I want you to know ministry can be seductive, it can be addictive, and the platform can be intoxicating. You know, people tell you, that was an amazing message, and you start believing it was you. Power and abuse of power. The second one is abuse of money. Abuse of money. You've heard many preachers say, the Bible says, the love of money. It's not money, it's the love of money. It's when money starts getting abused, when accounts start getting mixed together, when unethical behavior starts creeping in, money, the abuse of money. Let's talk about sex. I want to tell all the pastors in the room, especially male pastors, when a woman who's not your wife and you have sex, it's not because you're handsome. It's because you represent power. You represent a position. And then there are steps in this whole thing. You know, in church we have created this vocabulary which says, he fell into adultery. Help me understand that. I'm walking along in life, loving Jesus, loving my wife, loving my children, loving my grandchildren. I fell. Is that what happened? No. The Bible gives us the steps of sin. Psalm chapter 1 verse 1 says, blessed is the man who walketh not, who standeth not, who sitteth not. Right? Those are the 3 postures of sin. So if I'm walking and there's a naked woman, not my wife, and I keep on walking, I'm good. I didn't ask her to take off her clothes. I just keep on walking. But if I stand and say, Mamma mia, God, when you made her, whew, you were doing good. But then by the time you do what? The third posture is you sit down. It's too late. Earlier this morning, Pastor Mensa Audible unpacked amazingly. I'm still meditating on that. of how, especially in 2024, the first 6 months of 2024 in America, especially North Dallas, were brutal. And you know what happens? I'm spending more time here because this is the most susceptible thing happens. When one pastor in that town, that city messes up, people in your church wonder what's happening with my pastor. Because I watch him on TV every Sunday, every Monday, every Tuesday. I send him money. I mean, if he can fall, surely. And so I call that the splash effect. See, you never sin to yourself. You always affect the larger kingdom of God. The number 4 is pride. Pride. I call pride the heavenly sin. The heavenly sin. Pride did not originate on planet Earth. Pride originated in heaven when Lucifer, the archangel, rebelled against God with pride. Pride is the biggest. If I had to number the 5 of these, it's number 1, pride. When you start really believing you're all that. Just people clap for you does not mean they're meant to clap, because they clap because the neighbor is clapping and so they thought they should clap too. And just because somebody says that was amazing, that was wonderful, just don't let it get to your head, because very intoxicating and it's very seductive. And number 5 is family issues. Family issues. Family issues are like tsunami. They're happening, and then they erupt. You know, the most important members you're going to take to heaven with you is not your church members, it's your family members. Family. So with that backdrop, I want to give you, I'm talking the subject of longevity in leadership, longevity in ministry, longevity as a pastor, longevity as a Christian leader, longevity. I want to give you 5 observations as I have worked with leaders for almost 4 decades all over the world as to the ones that have longevity in ministry. Number 1, humility. 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 They are always aware they didn't come here by themselves. Somebody else brought them here. Every one of you in this room, somebody brought you here. You may be standing tall, but you're standing tall on the shoulders of many, many other people. And when you start believing that I'm a self-made man, a self-made woman, I want to say to you, didn't make much of yourself, because there's no such thing. I am always in awe and wonder of wherever I'm at. Whenever I come to this great church, Pastor Mensa, Otable, I'm just in awe. Because if you knew my history, if you knew where I've come from, there's no reason for an Indian to be in Accra, Ghana, talking to the best of pastors. My wife and I, at least once a week, we said that to each other yesterday on the phone. We say the same thing over and over again. We say, who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk? When I'm with you at Rivers Church in South Africa, it's like, I didn't come here. Humility. Humility. God has a way of knocking you off your pedestal. And He does it publicly. That's the bad part. Humility. Number 2 is relationships. Relationships. Relationships have to be formed intentionally, have to be nurtured intentionally, have to be kept up. Relationships, about 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, my definition of who's my inner circle friend changed about 10 years ago. Till then it was, Pastor Joy, if I was in an accident, they would come and get me. If I was locked up in jail, they would pay my bail. If I was in trouble, they would. So it was always, if I needed something, somebody would come and get me out of the ditch. About 10 years ago, by God's grace, my wife's good financial management and his provisions, we were able to pay off our house. So we don't owe any money on it. So we were expecting the information to come, and I went to the mailbox and I got a big package. And I opened the package, and Brenda is right there. We're in the kitchen. Brenda is right there, and I opened the package. In there, there's a letter from the bank saying paid in full, the deed to the property. You know how it's just a thick paperwork. I get it all. So Brenda and I are hugging, and we're laughing, we are crying, we are speaking in tongues. I don't know what we're doing. We're doing something. But it was like we're dancing together in the kitchen. It's just the two of us. It's like, because you got to understand, I went to America when I landed in JFK Airport in August of 1973. I literally had 87 cents in my pocket, literally. Not figuratively, literally. Brenda grew up in a sharecropper's home. So by the time she was 4 and 5, she was picking cotton, she was picking strawberry, she was picking vegetables. That's what they did. By the age of 13, my wife Brenda had moved 26 times. In most years, she never completed school in the same school. So here we are, two empty-pocketed people, and our house is paid for. So we are ecstatic. So we said to each other, who else can we call? So we called our older daughter Rachel, and she says, well, praise the Lord, that is really good. So on the phone. I called my younger daughter Debbie. She said, that's really good. Now our inheritance is free and clear. This actually happened. And then it was, who else can we call who will rejoice with us? Who else can we call who will celebrate with us? So as we start thinking about our relatives, and they all messed up. And the friends, it's like, it's good for you. We still got to pay for our home. And 10 years ago, my definition changed from friends who would rescue me to friends who would celebrate me. And pastors, if you see somebody else's churches grow, send them a WhatsApp and say, you are doing amazing, so proud of you, keep doing it. Come on, keep doing it. Because relationships are important in longevity in leadership. Number 3 is what we talked about this morning. People who have longevity in leadership, especially Christian leadership, start planning their succession and transition while there's no reason to do it. If you look at the life of Jesus, the first thing he did in Luke chapter 6 is start planning his succession. Before he healed the sick, raised the dead, fed the multitudes, he started gathering his apostles in Luke chapter 6, verse 12 and 13. People who have longevity have a long view of life. And they're not waiting for that phenomenal moment to happen when you start planning your transition succession. They start planning the succession and transition right at the beginning. I want to tie number 4 and 5 together. Number 4 is money, and number 5 is marriage. Money and marriage. Money and marriage. Most pastors do not transition because they don't have the money to transition. And so the church becomes their bank. And then the church starts asking, why are we paying him? Because you preach the same sermon every Sunday now. You know, you shuffle into church with a walker, and people honor you and love you and stay for a while, but then you will notice attrition starts taking place little by little. I want to say something to pastors because that's who I work with. If you don't take care of your own money, nobody else is going to. I'm not talking about church money. I'm talking about your money. And marriage. A mega ministry needs a mega marriage. Whenever I come to this great church and I see Pastor Mensa Audible and Pastor Joy Audible, and I see them in the green room and they're together, and then they walk in, and I say, that's the secret sauce. Because a mega ministry needs a mega marriage. So now when I'm working especially with emerging leaders, I have only 2 questions for them. I have only 2 questions for pastors. So every pastor that I work with now, I have 2 questions. Question number 1, how's your money and how's your marriage? If your money is good and your marriage is on the rocks, you're going to be a poor man because she might be leaving you. If your marriage is strong and your money is strong, you're going to be fine. How's your money and how's your marriage? Longevity has little to do, please understand what I'm saying. Longevity has little to do with how much you know the Bible. Almost every pastor I knew who fell into sin, whatever it was, were not illiterate biblically. They were amazing pastors, amazing speakers, amazing platforms, amazing churches. It has really nothing to do with all of that. It has to do with your insight. Tsunami does not happen from the outside. Tsunami starts from the inside. I want to conclude my time with you with a story that has affected my life forever. But before I do that, if my media team, the slide people, will put up a slide, I want to give you something, and then I'm going to conclude with an experience in my life. It is the one with the books on it. So it's coming up. I can see it. Yeah, it is. So I knew I would be coming here, and I knew that I wanted to leave something with you. So I have a thing called the Sam Chan Leadership Institute. It is not free, but it's as close to free as possible. So you see the website is setyourowntuition.com. So if you want to pay $1 for what's on there, that nobody is going to ask you questions about that. So if you want to get the QR code, if you want to get the website, you can do that right now because it's going to be the slide's going to go away in 1 minute. What do you get for it? You'll get 12 of my books, all digital. They'll show up on your phone. They'll show up on your iPad. Every month, it's a 12-month program, 12-month program. So you'll get a book a month. You'll get 3 videos from me teaching that book a month. So a book a month, 3 teaching videos a month, and at the end of it, you'll get a certificate from the Sam Chan Leadership Institute, and you pay whatever you want to pay. If you want to pay $1, no one's going to ask you questions. It's just going to ask you for your name, email, and starts like that. And it's not just for you. It's for your entire churches. So if you want your entire church to read a book a month, get 3 videos from me a month, and grow in leadership, it's all there. So I took the money equation out. It's not free, but it's as close to free. So that's why it says setyourowntuition.com. So if you're doing that right now, you can fact check me today to know that I'm telling the truth. You don't have to. You only pay whatever you want to pay, but you have to pay something. It was 1980. I had just, at the age of 28, been accepted by a church, a country church in Michigan, to be their pastor. So my wife and I, we were youth pastors in Portland, Oregon, on the northwest side. So we moved to Michigan to be the pastor. That was in July. In August, our network of pastors, our denomination, had its annual conference every year. So I went to this conference. First time in my life, I am now a pastor. The bishop of our denomination, the leader of our organization, was Dr. Chester Miller, an American guy who had spent most of his time as a missionary in Brazil. Very soft-spoken, nothing ostentatious about him. You would never find him with any of the things. It was just, you would even not know he's in the room. Very, very quiet gentleman. So I went to this conference. It was in Ohio, near Columbus, Ohio. And I saw him way across the parking lot. And I ran up to him, and I said, Bishop Miller, have you heard I'm a pastor now? And in his own subdued way, he said to me, yes, Brother Sam, I heard. Bishop Miller, if there is one advice you would give me, what would you tell me? The advice that he gave me was so disappointing. I was expecting him to say something like, change this, don't change things for a year, start evangelism, do outreach, youth, young adults, children, preach this series. I was expecting him to give me something strategic that I could put my hands on. I still remember in that hot August, muggy Midwest, we're standing on the parking lot, and he's standing across from me, and he doesn't even look me in the eyes. I'll never forget what happened. Didn't even look me in the eyes. This is 1980, August of 1980. He looks me somewhere in my chest, and these are the words that he said to me that I want to leave you with this evening. He said, Brother Sam, live long, live clean, and walked away. At that time, at the age of 28, I didn't have a filing category. But now at 73, and looking at the wreckage in the church world, I want to leave you with Bishop Chester Miller's words, who's gone on to be with Jesus. Live long, live clean. Live long, live clean. Live long, live clean. Live long and live clean. Thank you very much.